Hey guys, so today is actually not an update on the health of the triplets. I can just tell you really quickly that we've now switched to weekly visits now that I've hit my 32 weeks, and that every week they're just checking on the health of the triplets, and really we could just have a C-section at any time because if they are not reacting well in the womb, or if it looks like they're going to be more at risk in the womb than out of the womb, they're just going to take them out. That's pretty much the update I have for you guys. Since we're doing weekly visits now, it's not quite as big as like, oh, this time they're all 4 pounds, which they are, and like you go from 3 pounds to 4 pounds, in a week, in 4 weeks. Like now, week to week, it's just like not as much of a change. But so today I'm going to do another aspect of my Mom of All Trades channel, which is what I've been wanting to get to. And I finally can because I moved in somewhere. I've got all the pregnancy updates out of the way until they actually come pretty much. And so now I can show you guys a workout video, which if any of you can recall from time spent with me, I love working out. I love exercise, and I've gotten quite a diverse background in a variety of sports. So, and I've done some of my own research too about like how to exercise as a pregnant woman. I've talked to my doctors about it. And so basically, what it comes down to is you need to work out when you're pregnant. Working out is super beneficial because there are two things that can lead to giving birth to a baby early. One of them is preterm labor, and that can be a whole slew of conditions and things that I'm not going to worry about. But another huge one that contributes to preterm labor is preeclampsia, otherwise known as high blood pressure. And to combat high blood pressure, a lot of doctors recommend a pregnant woman, go for a walk every day, or get some type of exercise in to exercise her heart, because when you're pregnant, you're creating more blood. So like right now I have about twice as much blood in my body as the average human female, and that's because I have to supply blood to 3 other little bodies, and my heart is pumping that blood for all 4 of us, and it's quite a lot of work, and it can put a lot of pressure on the arteries, right, as it's coming out of my heart, and it can cause a lot of health issues for me as a mother. But if I have a good heart health to begin with, or I work on my heart health and I strengthen my heart, before or during pregnancy, that stress from the added blood volume and the other bodies that I need to push it through isn't as bad. So my blood pressure throughout this entire pregnancy has actually been normal, which for most people is around 120/60. So my blood pressure actually at my appointment on Monday was 117/55, which is a really great number to be at. And I think that's one of the reasons why my OBGYN isn't quite as worried about me, because I don't have as many risk factors as other mothers of multiples. So exercise is super important for heart health and being able to combat preterm labor. And I also will be doing a tiny bit, it's not really strengthening, it's more just like yoga, and I'm trying to keep my body, limber and strong, and I'm trying to give my belly some relief because I just measured like around my waist. I'm 48 inches around. Like, ugh. Let's show you here. Ta-da! Like this is 48 inches. I look like I'm about to help somebody move. I've got such a big weight over me. So I do some strengthening exercises like for my hips, because when I have to sleep on my side. I can't sleep on my back because it cuts off blood supply to my brain and I'll pass out, and that can cause problems. And I can't obviously sleep on my belly. I've got a big beach ball there, so I have to sleep on my sides. And so my hips take all of my weight, pretty much, my lower legs and some of my belly, and my hips get really sore. And then the other leg feels like it's being stretched out, which is why unless you put a pillow there, which is why most pregnant women wouldn't like a pillow between their legs. So I do hip strengthening exercises as well, because they're doing so much more work for me while I'm pregnant and sleeping. And you sleep a lot more when you're pregnant with triplets. I take 1 to 2 naps a day on top of my 8 hours at night, so lots of sleeping. So yeah, I like to start off with my exercise bike ride, so I'll do a time lapse of that, and you guys can kind of see. I'm not pushing. I'm not going for highest heart rate. I'm not going for the fastest speeds. I'm just trying to exercise my heart and my legs a little because I have some swelling in my lower legs just because the size of my womb has constricted the vessels for my lower body, and so sometimes I get swelling down there, just collecting. So all I'm trying to do is get some movement, get some blood flowing, and make my heart feel better. So I'll bike usually for about 15 minutes, and that's about all I can handle. And then I'll come down to the mat and do some strengthening exercises. So let's get to it. One thing that I forgot to mention is that I also suffer from symphysis pubic dysfunction, which basically means that the cartilage between my two pubic bones is extremely loose. So any activities like walking, going upstairs, they all bring extreme pain and discomfort. So in my workouts, I'm extremely limited in what I'm able to do. So biking is pretty much the only way I can get cardiac exercise. And when I do yoga, I have to be very careful to keep my legs together. Otherwise, I cause more pain and harm than actual good. If you do not suffer from SBD, you can do a lot more activities. So I usually like to start off my exercise on the ground with some cat-cow. And I'm not trying to increase the flexibility in my back. I'm mostly just trying to open up my chest. So I keep my back relatively flat and I look up as high as I can. And then when I round my shoulders, I'm really pushing my hands into the floor to stretch between my shoulder blades, just so, because I spend a lot of time looking down when I'm pregnant, I'm trying to counteract all of those bad habits. And then, of course, downward dog. Downward dog is fantastic for anybody who is pregnant and also anybody who's not. It's a very restorative pose, but it is really great for helping line up the babies for birth. Unless you have 3 of them living in your stomach, then it just kind of annoys them because they all slide around each other. But if you only have one baby, it really helps them get into that head position that you need when you, or want, when you're going to have a vaginal birth. So, because it helps their heads line up in the right direction, which is basically head down when you are standing up. And then I like to do a couple of glute exercises. Like I mentioned before, my hips get really sore and tired. So once again, I'm not focusing on getting stronger. I'm just focusing on rehabilitating a little and kind of helping them recover from the strain that they are being put under. So I do about 10 of those. And what I'm mostly focused on doing is getting my posterior chain, so from the back of my skull to the backs of my knees, I'm trying to get that straight. So it looks like I'm arching just because I've got that giant beach ball, otherwise known as my 3 children. It looks like I'm arching, but in reality, I'm just trying to get to flat back. And then again, I open up my chest, I open up between my shoulder blades because my neck gets really sore, and then I go into another downward dog. Downward dog is really great. It can stretch out that whole back of your legs, along with helping any type of neck pain or discomfort. It just kind of helps things even out. So I try to do at least 3 downward dogs in my workout, and I try to hold them for as long as I can before I get too uncomfortable with the babies moving around. And then, of course, another couple cat-cows. And then I need to move on to my next exercise, where I try to loosen up my hips a little, try to loosen up my shoulders a little. So basically, I'm trying to do a whole body touch-up. It's not really a workout because I don't really sweat, but I am trying to keep myself not as sore, because it's very easy to get sore. And I'm trying to open up all of those tight muscles that just kind of, when you're in pain and you curl around yourself, I'm trying to open them up. So open up those shoulders, open up the front of the neck, right? And hopefully this helps counteract some of the behavioral movements that I've adopted in this pregnancy. So here's my 3rd downward dog, and we'll pick up at the next exercise. So next we move on to those hip strengthening exercises that I've mentioned before. So these are just clamshells, opening and closing. I try to do 20 of them on each side, but of course, like sometimes I get really uncomfortable just with the weight of my belly pulling me over, and it can put a lot of strain on my ribs and my hips. So of course, I always try to listen to my body. If I'm in actual pain, I stop whatever I'm doing and try to find an alternative exercise. So here I'm going to do 20 clamshells because these help my hips the most. And then I do 10 leg raises with a straight leg. These can kind of put a tiny bit of a strain on the ligaments around my hips and my belly because they're just so stretched already with the size that I am now. And then I go back and forth and I do 10, or I count like 1, back, 2, back. And this also can strain the ligaments that are holding my belly to my abdomen. So I don't try to go super far. I'm just trying to remind them that, you know, they're worked. It's just a touch up. It's just a tone up. And then I repeat those numbers on the other side. I do have to take a little break when I switch just because it takes my stomach a second to adjust to my new positions and stuff. So I take my time when I do my workouts just so I'm not straining anything. Just be careful and listen to your bodies when you're doing a workout as a pregnant woman. If there's any actual pain, then you stop. If you feel the muscle working, then you're probably doing that right. So, and then I just repeat the whole thing on the other side. 20 clamshells, 10 leg lifts, and then 10 leg back and forths. So after I do my hip strengthening exercises, I like to do a couple stretches that just kind of, you know, they feel good mostly. So I stretch out my neck a little, stretch out my shoulders because I was just hunched forward doing some of those exercises. Do a couple quad stretches, anything that feels good and makes you want to move more. I would suggest doing that if you're super pregnant while doing this workout. But yeah, it's a pretty fun workout to do. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's about 25 minutes total, and you hit pretty much everything in your body, and you get a little cardio and you get a little toning up / strengthening for this late in the pregnancy, which is really all you need. Okay, that's about it for my workout. I try to do that every day except for Sundays because everybody needs a rest day. And it seems to be working fairly well. I still have a lot of mobility, even though it's fairly painful for me to move. I can still do it, and my blood pressure is doing great. So let me know if you enjoyed doing the workout. It shouldn't take too long. It's like a 25-minute workout altogether with a 15-minute bike ride and then a 10-minute strengthening. So